Tuned in to News and Views with myself, Salalo Makwidir. The time is around 2 minutes past 9 Central African time, and this is our hashtag Africa Focus segment, where we look at some of the biggest stories here on the African continent, and we dissect them. We look at them with a keen eye because how can we, look at the rest of the world without better understanding the continent that we're in, and where we live, and exist on a day-to-day basis. And on our Africa Focus segment this morning, we'll be returning to Kenya, where the anniversary of last year's deadly anti-tax protests has once again erupted into bloodshed, grief, and anger. 8 people were killed by the police, over 400 injured, and major broadcasters forcefully pulled off air, and the government once again accused of unleashing lethal force on its own people, and not just its people, but the youngest of its people, the future of the country. And what began as a memorial to the victims of the June 25th Gen Z uprising last year, you remember that it was a youth-driven revolt, essentially, against high taxes and state brutality, has instead served as a stark reminder of Kenya's deepening crisis, a government that promised reform, now veering dangerously close to repression. Sounds a lot like here at home, South Africa, a certain Congress. But anyway, this year, protesters weren't just marching against tax hikes. They were demanding justice for the death of a blogger and teacher, Albert Ojwang, allegedly killed in police custody earlier this month. It was a very, very big story. His case and the dozens of other disappearances since last year's protests have turned him into a symbol of a system many say is broken beyond repair. And joining us now from Nairobi is Salim Omar. He's a lawyer, businessman, and law lecturer, and he'll be walking us through the failures, the legal failures, the constitutional violations, and some of the civic consequences of what's currently unfolding in Kenya. Salim, assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah so much for joining us. Welcome to Salam Media. Really, really appreciate you giving us your time this morning.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for hosting me once again. I'll be glad to be with you throughout the session.
The pleasure's all ours. I think you are in Nairobi at this current moment. You witnessed the fallout yesterday. What was the atmosphere like on the ground in Nairobi? Was this a protest or people essentially pushed to a brink?
Yes, yesterday marked 1 year since what happened last year regarding the protest, which was planned and orchestrated by the young people, mostly known as Gen Zs. Yesterday, what happened is that there were demonstrations mostly at the central business district of Nairobi, the capital city of Kenya, and the objective was to commemorate the lives which were lost last year during the protest. But it turned out to be differently as planned because of a lot of domestic factors, which I think throughout the session I will explain.
I think yeah. Let's touch on those domestic factors. What really, from last year to this year, would you say prompted young people of Kenya to go out to the streets en masse? I think that the numbers were really, really big to essentially protest. What was the key driver of this protest?
Sorry, I lost you, but I think I got the basis of your question. Is that first of all, what is happening in Kenya is not a unique thing, because this has been happening since our independence in 1963. In fact, in all the regimes since the Kenyatta 1, Moi, Kibaki, and the Kenyatta 2, and now President Ruto, is what Kenyans, that's the freedom that we have been enjoying because of our democratic space that has been granted by the current constitution and even the previous constitution. So what I wanted to say is that the objective of yesterday's demonstration was to picket, to commemorate the victims of the previous violent demonstration, meaning last year. So it was supposed to be peaceful. Article 37 of the Constitution of Kenya clearly provides for the undeniable right to demonstrate and to picket and to protest. So, and the Constitution also provides a framework whereby that right should be exercised. It provides for a peaceful demonstration and picketing process. So, they are very genuine young people who are on the streets with the quest for justice. That's number one. They are not motivated by any political outfit or even any financial greed. But the political class, mostly the opposition, especially led by the former deputy president who was impeached immediately after the demonstration last year, they have been taking advantage to infiltrate now the peaceful demonstration which has been planned by the young people in Kenya. Apart from that, the criminal elements within the community have also took advantage of it, whereby you will see a lot of looting and even a lot of, we even had yesterday night that there were a lot of sexual abuses on young ladies at night, goons, the criminals. So, but the objective, the primary idea was for the young people to at least outline and unfold their grievances to the authorities in Kenya. But it was inflated by many other factors, which now change the aspect of peaceful demonstration to now violent demonstration, which now causes a lot of bloodshed, and include not only even the demonstrators, even the police. A lot of police men and women have been also assaulted. Some of them were even sexually abused, which were very clear which was very clear in all the social media platforms. Yes.
I want to touch on, the police brutality aspect of it that we've seen occurring in Kenya over and over again, especially since last year, and those June 25th Gen Z protests. I think those were like the turning point where the eyes and ears of the world turn into Kenya to see what exactly is happening in that part of the world. We have official reports of 8 deaths and 400 injuries. Do we know, as you mentioned, this was supposed to be a peaceful protest? It was supposed to be young people exercising their constitutional right to protest and express their grievances against the government. Why did it turn violent? Why did it turn deadly? And why does it seem police brutality in Kenya? There's no real mechanism to hold either the police officers and their commanders accountable for some of these brutal actions.
First of all, I will start by saying that there is a constitutional and legal mechanism to make sure that there is accountability within the police force. There is an authority called Independent Policing Authority of Kenya. Okay. It is mandated now to check the excesses that can be exercised by the police force. So there's a whole commission which now deals with it. They have been at the front line trying, despite not having the requisite logistics and also support which is required. But in terms of legal aspect of it, there is an establishment which now deals with that issue. Now, the issue of police brutality, I think it is a systematic problem that needs a long-term solution to this problem, because we, especially even the Muslim community, in the previous regime, we have been the largest group when it comes to the victims of police brutality and extrajudicial killings. So this is a systematic problem which needs to be uprooted from the hierarchy up to the Inspector General of Police. Why am I saying this? This is because, first, this is not a problem that started or commenced during this regime of the current president. It has been there even during the Moi regime in the 80s, before even South Africa got independence. It was there during the Kibaki regime, the president that we thought can be what you call a change, especially after the 24 years of Moi regime. During the Kibaki regime, there were extrajudicial killings, especially of Muslims, including our Muslim clerics. So this is a problem, a deep problem which has been there for long. And for this thing to be done, it needs a long-term solution through involvement of all stakeholders, including even the youth, because it is one life is so important, especially having been taken without legal justification. So the reason why the protest yesterday turned violence is because of many other factors, including lack of proper training from the police. People are marching very peacefully. They now have to throw tear gas and also shot live bullets at unarmed young people. That's now what causes now the violence there, the exchange now between the police and the young people. People start now throwing stones because they have to defend themselves, because they see that these people are not accommodating them. They're not giving them protection. In fact, they're the ones who are now fighting them. They're the ones who are after their lives. That is why now this kind of thing turns violence. And the other factor is that, like I told you, there is a lot of infiltration of this very important constitutional right, which has been undeniably provided by the constitution, is infiltration by the political class, one, and further infiltration by the criminal elements within the society, because they take advantage during this process to loot shop owners. Even there are a lot of malls, a lot of buildings which have been burnt in Nairobi. Not a lot of them, some few of them. Some of the shops, very small shops selling clothes and electronics, have been looted. Petrol stations have been looted. Now this is what now causes the violence aspect of this noble constitutional right. Yes.
Unfortunately, we have run out of time, but before I let you go, just two quick questions. Ruto's government, how sustainable is it to run a country in this manner, where 2 years in a row now we've seen mass uprisings, we're seeing disappearances of people, we are seeing people being killed under the same administration? And then secondly, what's the situation like right now? Are there any planned protests? We've seen the ones from last year go for over a week. Is it a similar situation? Are young people still saying we're going to the streets of Nairobi, we're going to continue to protest until something happens?
The current constitution, our constitution, which we inaugurated in 2010, it provides for solution for all kind of problem, including in the governance issue. And that's why there is a constitutional limitation and constitutional paths and routes which can be used now to raise our grievances. It is undeniable that this government has a lot of problems from which majority of them inherited from the previous regimes, including the issue of unemployment. The Kenyan youth are one of the most educated class when you compare within our neighbors. That's why I'm saying the issue of unemployment did not start during this regime. It started in the previous and the subsequent regimes. So my point is, if, by the way, and one thing that I should be very clear with you is that the current regime is the product of the young people, by the way. The President Ruto was the candidate of the young people because of the promises that he made. That is why they went through the constitutional process, having been supervised by a constitutional body in the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, which now supervised the election, which now ended at the product was this current regime. And that's why, to avoid any anarchy and any security incidences within our republic, we should use the formal and provided constitutional process to raise our grievances and also to deal with the governance issue. For example, if you have any problem with the president, there are many legal means. There are many legal means which can be used now to even remove the president. Number one, there is an impeachment which can be commenced at the at the legislative what do you call assembly. Number one, that's the parliament. And number two is, if that is not workable, then we have less than 3 years to go to the next election. Then they can now, the young people, all of us, we can now at least make our voice heard on the ballot. Otherwise, we cannot use a shortcut. We cannot use other unconstitutional and extrajudicial means now to deal with our governance issue. Because we are not pro anarchy and we are not pro violence. And for us as even Muslims, for us to have to enjoy our the rights to practice our religion freely, we need a peaceful country. That's why the constitution is there, to do the checks and balances on the governance issue. Get my point? So yes, there's a problem with the current regime, but we should use the constitutional means to deal with it. Otherwise, using shortcuts will just bring more problems than even solutions.
No, definitely. Salim, Jazakallah so much for joining us. Really, really appreciate you giving us your time. And I'm sure we'll be catching up with you as the situation in Kenya continues to unfold. But we're going to leave it here for now. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you very much for hosting me once again. God bless you.
There we go. We're going to take a quick break. This brings us to the close of our hashtag Africa Focus feature. But I think the situation in Kenya is still one to keep a very, very close and keen eye on. I think we can all see just what's happening in that part of the world, part of the continent. Kenya, very, very important. Supposed to be one of the rising countries. On the African continent. It inspires hope. If you look at where it comes from and where it's right now. I mean, you heard Salim there saying it has some of the most educated young people. When you look at its neighbors in the eastern part of the continent, and yeah, it's just disheartening seeing how the government goes about engaging with these young people that it has promised heaven on earth and essentially lied to. Hope the ANC is watching. Hope South Africa's youth is watching, because our situation here in South Africa is also unsustainable. When so many young people go to universities, are promised a better life, are told all of their lives, go to school, get educated, go to university, and they do all of that. They tick all of the boxes. And then when they're done with that, they're told, well, there's no job for you. Going to take a quick break. When we come back, News and Views continues after this.